You're listening to Runescape Weekly Specials. Today we have with us David and his struggles, his triumphs, all the juicy details of Solak Day 1 duos. So again, joining me is David. Welcome, David. I'm really excited to hear your story. I know you put a lot of hours into it the first day and the
Yeah,
first few days.
first few days. Yep.
Overall, now that you've had some time into it, you want to give us a quick rundown as to your feelings on the boss, and then maybe start from the beginning.
Yeah, sure. I think the boss is amazing. Um, it's not particularly rewarding in terms of GP per hour, at least in comparison to the last couple of major bosses that got released. So, aside from a few people who have gotten really lucky with a crossbow, there's not much going on in terms of that. But in terms of the experience, I think it's quite enjoyable, and it was really fun to finally be present for the release of something really difficult because I missed Talos release for work, and while Angel of Death release was hyped, it was such a joke that it didn't really feel that fun because we didn't have to learn any of the mechanics because DPS was so high, we just brute force our way through all of them. So I didn't know most of the mechanics till almost a month after release because there was just no need to learn them.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So this boss really
So
made you go through each phase, and there wasn't really a way to skip mechanics, or at least that was the intention. Was that how it was received?
yeah, for the most part, I think that we're probably skipping the mechanics on P4 at this point because of high DPS and in fairness, there's a bug that exists that is not Solak related, but is a game wide bug. It just happens to be very pronounced at Solak that makes what we suspect is the intended method. It's much slower and theoretically safer, actually more dangerous than the sort of brute force DPS method. But we can get into that a little more later,
Yeah.
I think.
So take us back to the beginning, to the game update, I guess, basically, or at least when you logged in, and tell us how your experience was.
Yeah, so my experience was like a lot of what people might have seen on stream. The streamer Ken, I told you, has a great clip of exactly what I experienced on release, which was that we all went in thinking that, we could probably do enough damage that none of the mechanics would matter too much, and so we, brought tier 90 armor and steel titans with summoning flasks, the usual standard stuff. Um, the first mechanic is one that spawns portals on the ground, deals 5k damage in a duo, I think 7k damage in a 7-man for each person who does not collect their portion of the anima, the rogue anima, I guess you might say, from the portals.
Mhm.
And then does that damage to each person. So if there's 7 people on the team and you miss 7 portals, good luck. Good luck surviving a 63k hit.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
so so we when we saw the portals on the ground, we didn't react quickly enough. Some of us got in, some of us didn't get in, and we all just instantly died to the portals. After that, just like you'll see on Ken's stream, which is pretty funny, everyone said, "Well, the mistake was probably going to the portals. It must be that we can't go to the portals or we get killed." And so we thought, okay, this makes sense. So the next kill, nobody went to the portals. Everyone was like, "Don't go, don't go, don't go." We all took, what is probably 63,000 damage. So within about 60 seconds of the boss's release, I'd already died twice. So it was definitely a whole new experience than Angel of Death. We died to the very first mechanic. So after a few more attempts, we got past the mechanic, figured out that you have to run to the portals and then resonance the hit that happens after or reflected or whatever. Basically it hits you twice. Once for not getting to it, and once after you get it, you get hit anyways. But getting to it at least
Negates
makes
one of them.
the right, exactly, yeah, exactly that. So the next special was this roots mechanic where it drew a triangle between a location, two locations on a map, on either side of an arrow, and yourself, and spawned the equivalent of vindictive flames, but on steroids that also stunned you and lasted for longer in a triangle. And so we didn't know how to deal with this, so there were just these roots going everywhere, killing us. It was probably in the first hour, I did not get to phase 2. I was with a team that wasn't super experienced, but 7-man was so chaotic that did not get to phase 2 in an hour. And again, Angel of Death, we got to kill second try.
Wow.
So
Comparison.
this is like, I kind of said in the chat that it was like comparing Araxor and King Black Dragon or General Gardor in terms of Solak versus Angel of Death.
Wow.
So real step up. After that, I switched to duo. We had a lot more success duo because it's very easy to see what's going on. Instead of 7 people trying to deal with the mechanic, there's only 2. There's less happening. And so I think that for people who are looking to learn the boss for the first time, it's very accessible. You don't need the best in slot gear, not even close. You don't even need auras. They help, but you definitely don't need auras. Definitely don't need tier 92 weapons. Probably don't need tier 90 weapons, although it'd be nice to have. And yeah, so we got to phase 2 within a couple attempts of duo, and then phase 2, the difficulty kind of kicks up a notch again.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was maybe 8 or 9 hour. I mean, I was really behind. I was dealing with someone who I felt really, really comfortable with, but she had to go do something. She had to go do a real life thing, something came up, and so I was without a partner for a couple hours, and basically I kept going with people who hadn't logged in yet, if that makes sense. So I kept having to die on phase 1 and phase 2 over and over again because I kept going with people who had just logged in for the first time.
Yeah, you're basically you're being bottlenecked by other people's ignorance, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not their fault. It's
no, of course not. It's just
that's fine.
Yeah, that's how teamwork works, right?
Yeah, after about 7 or 8 hours, I finally started getting to phase 3 pretty consistently. Luckily, phase 3 is super easy by comparison. So phase 2 is super, super hard if you don't know what you're doing, almost impossible if you don't know what you're doing. Phase 1 is really hard if you don't know what you're doing. Phase 3, well, I'll put it this way. The first time we got to phase 3, we also got to phase 4. Phase 3 is almost like a holding state. It's pretty time locked. It's pretty relaxing, but by comparison, not relaxing as in fishing in Press Waterfall. But by comparison, super relaxing, super chill. You can get all your resources together. Most people at this point are dismissing their Beasts of Burden for Titans, unless they're using Titans from the start. Most of people who I've been going with are using Titans or Unicorns from the start now, because you don't really need food at the boss at all once you have it figured out. But by the time I got into phase 4, I'd gone through over 1,000 Sarah Brews, over 500 Super Sarah Brews, and over 2,000 Rocktail soups.
Wow.
So this was an expensive.
I was looking at the graphs of the prices of those items, and it was just the day of release and the couple days after, it was just this huge spike in all the expected materials that you'd
Oh yeah, if you even had 100 mil to spend on merching the items, you would have made bank. I bought 1,000 sailfish soups on day 2 for 26K each.
Wow.
Which is just astronomically high.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It's more than double what they were before the boss came out.
I'm still sitting on my Guthix wine, waiting for the day that I'm gonna make all those super Guthix brews. I'm just it's such a.
I think it's still pretty good GP, isn't it?
It's not bad. Even the wines,
2K. Don't you make 2K per wine?
Yeah, even the wines themselves actually have a pretty good base price to sell for now, which didn't even used to be the case. So they're not even the worst anymore. They used to literally the wines were 50 GP each. Now they're I'm 2.5, 2.8K. It's not the worst anymore.
Yeah, that's pretty decent.
Yeah, no, compared to what they used to be for sure.
Yeah, and I think Saradomin wines have skyrocketed, despite there being Saradomin wines on the drop table. It's maximum one person can bring 15 to 20 wines in game per hour. I promise that will take
Yeah.
months and months and months to overcome the Saradomin wines that were consumed just on day one.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Literally, yeah. Um, so yeah, so phase three is pretty chill. There are these artifacts that you have to turn purple. There's rotation, stun that was initially scary because at Yakamaru, when you stun pull, it'll say like Magebit has stun Yakamaru or something like that, and then if you stun again, you get 5K'd. So initially we were terrified because we thought that it had the Yakamaru stun pool mechanic. We were thinking, wow, magic is dead. We can't asphyxiate this boss. Time to switch to ranged. Then we realized, like, no, you could keep stunning, and stunning clears a bleed that progressively hits harder and harder and harder. But again, it's all pretty easy. Phase 4 is kind of on a whole different level of difficulty from the first 3 phases. It really it changes just radically in terms of difficulty. And so I got to phase 4 maybe 8 hours in to release. I did not stop playing except for bathroom breaks. I didn't even eat. So to put in perspective, it took me 8 hours to get to phase 4, about 10 hours to get to phase 4 with tons and tons of food left, where food was just not going to be a relevant consideration. And it wasn't until 23 hours into release that I finally got a kill. So it's possible I was just bad at phase 4 because obviously someone got a kill 10 hours in, and people started to get kills maybe 15 or 16 hours in. But yeah, it was hard for sure. It was really challenging.
What was the hardest part to overcome? Was there an aha moment in phase 4 that you finally were like, oh, okay, I can do this now? Or did you just have to slowly get better at it? Could you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that there were a couple different ones for phase 4. The first, and I'm going to be talking in terms of the slower method. Nobody figured out the fast method until maybe 3 or 4 days in, or at least if they figured it out, it wasn't being done. Basically phase 4. There are 2 realms: the Shadow Realm, or the Other World, whatever you want to call it. I've been calling it the Shadow Realm because it looks like the Barrows brothers' tombs, and it looks like the Shadow Realm when Sasuke drags you there in quests, things like that. And so in the Shadow Realm, there are minions, mages, who spawn and start to damage Solak to attempt to kill him, because of course Solak is good. You're just trying to defeat his corruption. So you're trying to remove Solak's corruption, not actually kill him. So
during the fight, if I may, real quick, so sure. Solak, you're fighting against Solak, but you're fighting the corruption off of
right. So he's corrupted, doesn't know what he's doing, and is doing all of these attacks just because basically the entire time Solak is at war with himself.
Okay.
Right? Because there's Erythor, this mage who's trying to possess him, to take control over him. And then there's himself, who's like good or whatever, right?
Okay, so he's Erythor
good, he's being
bad.
Possessed. Right, exactly.
Okay. Gotcha.
And so the entire fight, the lore reason why he, erupts with anima and is just like attacking wildly, is because he's at war with himself.
Okay.
Right. So on phase 4, you finally got rid of the corruption completely. And so Erythor decides that rather than let him be good again, he's just going to kill the Solak. Okay, so Erythor has given up on trying to possess him and is now just going to try to kill him.
Okay.
Dick move. Total dick move, but classic sore loser villain.
Straight up chaotic evil right there, yep. If I can't have it, no one can.
Exactly. And the voice acting is quite good. Apparently the voice actor is pretty well known from, he voice acted a bunch of stuff in the Witcher series. If you're familiar
he's a cool dude. Yes, I know exactly. Yeah. I don't know his name, but I know who you're talking about. He actually plays RuneScape. Yeah. Does the voice of Geralt.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, that's who does the voice acting.
That's awesome. That just made me want to check this boss out way more.
Oh, you should. I mean, if you go in with sound on, you just go in with nothing on, and you'll still hear his voice acting.
That's
And
so
you'll die in
cool.
20 seconds, but
Yeah.
whatever. Just die with nothing on. It's fine.
Yeah, that's so cool to know. Wow, I love The
Yeah, it's
Witcher.
yeah. So phase 4, you've got the Shadow Realm, where the minions are just attempting to kill Solak, and then you've got the realm of Solak's mind, which is this like beautiful Gothixian. Is that a word? Can we use that term, Gothixian?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Why not, right? Yeah, it's this like beautiful Gothixian paradise. Okay, but he's still not totally free, so he's still attacking you, but it's relatively chill. There's like a bomb that hits you for 4K twice, very easy to out-eat. And then there's another attack that does 9K damage, harder to out-eat, but you can resonance it, which is quite nice. Or you could stun him in order to prevent him from doing it, but that's a little more difficult. Down below, it's basically the more damage you do to Solak above, the more minions spawn down below to attempt to kill Solak. So you have to simultaneously be killing Solak above to finish the fight, and also healing Solak down below. And the way you heal him is you give up your own life to heal him, and it's 1,500 per tick. Obviously, you can't just spam heal him or you'll die.
Yeah.
So you have to do it while barricaded. And as long as you do it while barricaded, you'll heal him 1,500 per tick, but you won't take damage.
Cool.
So what we figured out is that the key to a successful phase 4 when you're learning, and with the exception of a bug happening, which is frustrating, but happens. It is not Ramen's fault. It's not the Solak. It's not Solak specific. It just an RS thing. Is you can intercept your partner, and you could both heal him at the same time. And so if you coordinate with your partner to alternate, and the mages always do hit you with magic hits, you could coordinate with your partner to alternate Devotion Intercept and Cade Intercept in order to be able to heal him with 2 people rather than 1 person. And once we figured out that nothing bad can possibly happen by doing damage slowly, except of course you could run out of overloads or something. That's not really realistic, but theoretically you could run out of overload, run out of prayer, something like that. But food's not a concern because you can't eat in the Shadow Realm anyways. You can't use any food whatsoever.
As you would
can only
expect,
use
of course.
Excalibur spec. So food, you're not going to run out of food because you can't eat food anyways. The only thing you can run out is prayer or overload. Just bring extra. You could bring a yak, and what's your experience? You'll get there with almost all your food, your stuff left anyways. So basically, as long as you take it really, really slow and focus on making sure the Shadow Realm Solak is healed and you don't get overwhelmed by the minions, you could get slow but very effective kills. And I would say probably my first 20 kills were done with this very slow but very effective method. The reason most people would switch to the quick method, and the reason why it's still possible to fail, is that there is a pretty major bug that exists with NPCs. So essentially, let's pretend you're using the ability Resonance, right? You're pretty familiar with how Resonance works, yes?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so let's say you put on Soul Split and you resonance a mage hit. And it hits you 2K, so you resonance a 4K, right? So this is all clear, yeah? So in RuneScape, if an NPC launches an attack on the same game tick that it dies, okay? So, and this is pretty easy for it to happen because these minions are easy to kill. If a NPC launches an attack as it dies, it ignores all defensives. So that resonance, instead of healing you 4K, you take the full 3.5K hit.
Oh no.
Now let's use a second example. Let's say you're using the ability Devotion. And let's say that you use Dragon Breath and kill 2 at once. Picture yourself at Abyssal Demons using Dragon Breath, kill 2 Abyssal Demons at once, right? Probably happens all the time.
Sure.
Yeah. So let's say you kill 2 minions at once. Both of them attack you as they die. It ignores your Devotion, and you take 2 3.5K hits.
Yeah, that's
This is confirmed as a bug. It's clearly not supposed to happen. Ramen on Twitter has said it's not Solak specific. It works. It happens at every NPC. Just obviously, it's way more pronounced here than it ever has been. So it's brought it into the forefront, and they were not able to fix it for this week's patch notes. They said they're working on it, but right now it's soon TM.
Yeah, that must go to the engine level.
That's what they're thinking, is that it's an engine level problem.
It's gotta be, if it has something to do with the fact that the monster has ceased to exist as an entity in the game world, and then it's basically its code that has been executed is supposed to be thrown away, but then is probably getting put in like some sort of memory space that no longer exists. It's probably something along those lines. If I
Right,
had to take,
and it's been fixed at specific bosses. So, for example, Solak hilariously had the same bug every single boss in this game's history has had on release, where if it does an attack as you kill it, it still can kill you with that attack. So, for anyone who's done Araxor and died, and this bug has been fixed, by the way, but for like years it wasn't fixed. Like literally years after release, it still wasn't fixed. Where it could do an acid bomb as it dies, and then it dies, and then you die to the acid bomb. Right, so Solak has that 9K hit that I was talking about. Oftentimes, you can kill Solak as that 9K hit was coming out, and you die to it. Thankfully, this wasn't as big of a problem because you could still loot the fight even if you die. As you can still loot the fight. It works like raids, for example. So if you die, you can still go get loot, assuming it was killed. And then. But it's still frustrating because most deaths are pretty expensive nowadays, and your death is almost certainly far more expensive than the loot that you got. The best loot that I've gotten this entire time, maybe 40 kills or so, was 2 onyxes.
Oh wow! So they're really relying on a more unique centric drop table as far as that's when you make your money. Now is that I assume it's unpopular in the PVM world.
It is and it isn't. I think the reason it's unpopular is Telos was a mistake. It was too good. And so if people are using Telos or Angel of Death as a barometer, then yeah, it's terrible. But if you're using other bosses as a barometer, it's not too bad. Now I think Solak is a little ridiculously low. Like right now, Fight Kiln is better GP per hour than Solak, unless you get a rare drop. To me, that's a little silly.
That is a little silly.
Yeah, and of course, if you get a rare drop, the crossbows are 1.7 bill, and great, you made your money.
Yeah.
But over the course of the hours, it's unreleased. For some reason, there's been a rumor going around that it's 1 in 200. So if someone wants to do the math, 1 in 200. 3 kills an hour, maybe 4 if you and your partner are extremely good. Then a 1.7 bill divided by 2. But of course, the crossbows will keep dropping and dropping and dropping as more come in the game.
Yeah, that's another good point to bring up, and that's what I wanted. Like, 1 in 200 sounds like not that bad, but if you're thinking only like 2 to 4 kills an hour, then you might get maybe 1 crossbow drop a week if you're having decent luck.
To put in perspective, 999 Enraged Telos, if you just camp 999s, 1 in 37 for a unique. If your unique is an orb, which has a 75% chance of being an orb, that's about 300 mil. You could do 7 to 8 kills an hour.
Okay.
So it's really not even close to other bosses in terms of GP. Like don't do this boss if you care about gold. Only do this boss if you've got 150 mil to burn on supplies learning it, and then you still don't care about making money. Now, in terms of the fight itself, it's other than that minion death bug, which really sucks to lose a kill to that, because kills take like 18, 19 minutes, and you could die at the last second to that.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that bug, it's extremely enjoyable, super fun. It's not a boss that requires a huge amount of DPS or really good gear. It's a boss that requires extremely precise timing and coordination with your partner, and knowing exactly when you're going to need to use certain defensives.
It's interesting you say that, because I was maybe browsing a stream with Shawnee, I think it was, or was it Mod Lee? I think it might have been Mod Lee. One of the two of those clowns was doing Solak in bronze armor. And
yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, if it can be done in bronze armor, then that tells me that it's more about like precision and skill rather than like raw, having, I don't know what I'm trying to say here.
I think that was just a meme though. Like, I don't think they got past Fate.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, there's been no successful kill in bronze armor. Now there have been no food duos. I don't know about 7 minutes. I got a duo using no food.
Okay.
So no food kills are absolutely possible. My current preset, I switched from. I'm now using a unicorn. Unicorn is actually pretty handy there. It's kind of cute, I think. Each unicorn scroll heals 1258, which is almost as good as a super brew. But right now, my preset has space for 3 brews and 3 rocktail soups. So that's all the food I'm bringing for the fight right now is 3 brews, 3 soups.
Wow, that's crazy. Now, of course, for those of us who don't want or don't think we can even come close to completing this and want to purchase our way through it, of course, there's been much discussion about this. What are your thoughts and opinions on being able to get someone through to the other side who is completely inept?
Yeah, so I've gotten a lot of people their comp cape back. For the first few days, there was no way to do it, man, and we had to do what we had to do. I'll let you come to your own conclusions about how we got people's comp cape back.
Okay.
We're currently thinking that we're currently now letting people come through in 7-man kills. We're charging a very large amount of money. I don't want to use this platform to advertise, so I'm not going to say any specifics whatsoever. But basically, if you want to purchase a Solak kill, it can absolutely be done. It's going to be extremely expensive because there are very few people who are good enough to do the boss in the first place, and even fewer who are good enough to do it minus 1 person.
Am I, like, say, like, I'm interested in the market, like, should someone who wants to spend, like, less than $1 billion gold even consider looking for a team?
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, totally. It's less than $1 billion. It wasn't like...
Okay, because that was... Yeah, that was the big, like, everyone thought this was going to be like, oh, it's going to be $1 billion gold, and like no one's going to be able to like afford this, or like average players aren't going to be able to. All right, if it's under $1 billion gold, then I feel like then I don't feel like there's been any severe injustice. But it does, unless you want to talk any more on this point, bring me to my next point, which was basically going to be, with bosses this difficult, what are your thoughts on Reaper?
I'm pretty firm in my beliefs, to be honest. I think the completionist cape is what it is. Maybe it was a mistake to call it that, but at a certain point, if you're unwilling to go through the 5 to 6 hours per boss, because that's probably what it is once the guides are up and the methods are up to learn how to do it and kill it, and you're also unwilling to spend the money, then I don't know. Sorry. I think it should be on. I think it should absolutely be a completionist cape requirement. I think it makes sense 100%. I understand that some bosses have accessibility issues. That's a flaw with those concerns. For example, Virago having the team split colors be red and green for so many years, like obviously that's a no-brainer problem.
Yeah, sure.
But aside from things like accessibility issues, I think that
my complaint that I don't like the tick system is not like a valid, and I don't claim that it is. I never have claimed that is. I'm just using myself as kind of like a poster child, or it's just like that's not an excuse for like. And it's exactly yeah. Go ahead.
Assuming you're willing to lose kills over and over till you get a kill, or purchase it, because there's never been a boss, including Solak, that you haven't been able to buy your way to a kill. But taking that aside, if you're going to do it yourself, there's no way that Reaper is going to take you longer than requirements like Livid Farm or 120 Dungeoneering or 120 Slayer in terms of time. Now, it's going to require a lot of patience. But as someone who...
A lot of those other things required patience.
Yeah, exactly. As someone who learned to PVM by going onto forums, begging to get on teams, and dying over and over and over and over until I finally figured out how to do it. I didn't have any friends who were PVMers. I didn't know anyone. So I had to do it all myself from YouTube guides.
All I'm gonna say is that if you can handle Mage Training Arena for Comp Cape, you can probably do Reaper as well, as far as the patience level goes.
Exactly. Now, if it were Final Boss, where you had to do 100, then sure, that'd be a different conversation. But literally, you have to get one kill. I think that the best compromise I heard was to let practice mode kills count. Maybe that sounds okay because at least you're saving a lot of money on death costs.
Yeah, I don't hate that idea actually. It's funny. That's the first time I've heard of that. Because that's actually not the worst idea in the world. Because I think probably I've never really thought of that because you immediately think practice kills don't count. Duh. But it's an interesting compromise. I've also heard the compromise. Well, it's like you got the comp cape and you have the trimmed comp cape, right? Like Jagex has already split hairs themselves by taking the comp cape and literally making a superior version of itself. And so there's always like, oh well, you just put it on, put it on the trimmed comp cape.
But it's like it's one kill. If it were final boss, then yes, you would have 100% sympathy. That is an obscene requirement. It should be trees, but it's one kill on each boss.
Is final boss a trimmed requirement, or is it just its own little thing?
No, it's its own little thing. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not completely against putting Reaper on trimmed comp, but here's I could totally see them just like, hey, take the Castle Wars requirement, let's just kick that right into the trash, just get rid of that, and we'll put Reaper. Yeah, we'll put Reaper right in its place. There you go.
We're gonna trade a wreck that takes 3 months straight of AFKing for a wreck that takes like 1 day.
Yeah. Yep, that's the plan. That's the plan. Magebit 2020, CEO of Jagex. Take these ideas into your heads now, people. This is the platform you run on. You get all the people who want all the easy escapes.
Also, Livid Farm fully completed is now a trim wreck. You only have to up one spell for comp. New Magebit 2020 platform. Easy.
Listen, in my world, we would take Livid Farm. We would expand on it because I like the core idea of Livid Farm, but I don't think it's done right as far as the whole click intensity thing is, or it's too repetitive. I guess is the nature.
It's too repetitive.
There's not enough diversity in the click intensity.
Intensity is fine if there was more stuff to do.
Yeah. There's not enough diversity in the click intensity. And I would love to see that farm expanded out and to have all these. All right. I would basically like to see Livid Farm turned into a mini Factorio for anyone who's ever played Factorio. But that place just, for whatever reason, just gives me the sense that it could be turned into like this weird little like automation plant where you're just like using these Livid Farm spells to like pack away produce and ship it out on these like automated magic fueled little like machines and contraptions.
That sounds sweet, actually.
It could be fun. Oh, it could be fun. I don't know. But Livid Farm is just such wasted potential. All I know is that someday, the Motherlode Maw, I'm going to have so many reward enhancers that I'm just never going to have to do a comp requirement.
Well, also you can do it from Whirlpool. I don't know if you go to the merchant every day.
No, I don't. And I heard that there's like a Livid plant you can buy there.
Yeah, probably about once a week.
I'm going to have the most viewed RuneScape video in like 2072 because I'm going to do like comp cape it's only going to be from the Motherlode Maw. Like I'm just going to purely unlock comp cape only from items that you get that give you rep and points from those types of things, and just never play the games themselves. And then like 50 years later, I'm just going to release all those points and things that I've been holding in my bank. I just have like endless stacks of reward enhancers and things like that. So I'm going to wait like 60 years, and I'll have the most popular video because everyone will be like, this person literally waited 2 generations to make this.
Yeah.
Oh, what is wrong with me? Anyway, so Solak, is it going to be a boss you're going to play regularly, or?
I'd love to get a crossbow at the very least. I'd love to get a pet. I've been doing mostly Talos again today because I need some more money.
That's the thing is like, you're going to go back to your tried and trues, obviously, to make money. But as far as like if someone was like, hey, do you want to go do Rots? I don't want to say Virago because I know you'll pick Virago. Or do you want to do Rots or do you want to do Solak? Like, what would you pick?
Oh, it takes Solak 100%.
Just hands down.
So I think Solak is the best design boss in the game, period. Assuming the minion bug gets glitched, it'll 100% be. So I didn't explain the fast method to you, but basically the fast method is to brute force phase 4. So you have one person both people use Natural Instinct. One person uses Metamorphosis, uses Wild Magic, Asphyx, and Shatter, then goes down, and there's maybe 7 or 8 minions spawned. The person above uses a full rotation of Natural Instinct Sunshine into Onslaught. And basically, it's all or nothing. Either you get it on that you either get it on that rotation or you just die. So it requires a DPSer who's extremely good. It doesn't require best gear, really, but it requires very precise timing of all your abilities, if that makes sense.
Sure, yeah.
And
the one thing I hate the most in this game.
It's probably the most difficult DPS check in the entire game's history by a lot. This particular version of Phase 4. The other person goes down with full Acto and tries to tag all the minions. I actually put a Caraming switch, the one that makes Chain hit extra targets on a Virtus wand, and so I use Caraming to try to tag all the minions. And then you Devotion to stay alive, and then Cade, and you heal Solak. And assuming you don't die down in the Shadow Realm and your partner is very, very good at DPS, you can get it on that first go, which is quite nice. Now, unfortunately, even when you kill the boss, the minions still do the glitch where all the minions die at once, and you get to about 30, maybe more than 30 of the minions are attacking you at the same time. So you have to be pretty skilled with defensives and rotations to not die. But after the boss is killed, any minion that launched an attack, let's say it was only 20% of them, right? So let's say 7 minions launched an attack. That's low. It's probably more like 20. But let's say 7 minions launched an attack as Solak dies. The person down in the Shadow Realm takes all of those hits through defenses. So I died 6 times in a row after the boss died to this glitch. And my grave each time was 4.5 mil, and my best loot was the 2 onyxes. But most of it was like a mil. So I actually lost, in an hour, I actually lost 20 mil, and we got 6 out of 6 kills.
It's like how much I make it a day is what you lost in an hour.
And it wasn't like we didn't, there's nothing to do. Like you just, now we've changed the rotation slightly so that hopefully you're barricaded, because the glitch doesn't work through barricade, and immortality works as well. It just turns off things like resonance and devotion. For those who don't know, there's a difference between abilities that work on you and abilities that work on an NPC or yourself. So for example, Debilitate directly affects the NPC. Devotion only affects you, affects you. That's why Pushback is blocked by Debilitate, but not by Devotion on Phase 5. That's like a niche thing, but most high-level PVMers will know it because of Virago. So we've changed the rotation to where hopefully you'll be barricaded when the boss dies, but if your partner is slightly slow at DPS, then your barricade will run out right as the boss dies, and you just get wrecked by up to 30 3.5Ks. I haven't figured out how to eat through 20 plus 3.5K hits, but if someone knows a method, please PM me, because I'm losing a lot of money.
Well, there you go.
I need to invitation. I need to tank 60K damage. So let me know how I can do that. It'd be great.
Just wait for that tier 99 armor. It'll be out soon.
Oh yeah, that'll totally boost your life points to 70,000.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah. So aside from that one bug, I've said this like 10 times now, but it's not Solak related. It's just an engine bug, like you were saying. Aside from that, I think the fight is perfect now, more or less. There's some difficulty with aggro mechanics, but anyone familiar with aggro mechanic difficulty to AOD, it's the same issue, and it's easy to correct as long as you know what you're doing. There was the Titan and Poison glitches on day of release. That's a little lazy and a little unfortunate. I hope that they deal with people who bug abuse fairly, harshly but fairly. I think that permabans are totally uncalled for. I think that some sort of penalty, though, is probably fair.
Yeah.
So, it would just be, I don't know, are they going to permaban like 180 accounts with comp capes? Like, maybe they will. That'd be kind of wild, but like that's banning a lot of a lot. their clients.
Probably,
So
I think a lot of those, if they receive any bans at all, they'll be temporary.
yeah, exactly. And I think there's a big difference between people who were knowingly abusing the bug for the sake of abusing the bug, and people who are just like, oh wait, why is my Titan doing so much damage? Maybe familiars are supposed to be good here, and you just like, you know, let your Titan go ham. I don't know. Like that's probably what I would have done. Is if I saw my Titan just absolutely murking the boss, then I'd be like, okay, cool. Like I guess Titan's good. Sweet. Let's bring more summoning flasks. I wouldn't be like, oh god, because it, you know, it's day of release, right? So it's like we don't know what is good and what isn't.
Right. Exactly. Oh, you could have been. Oh, maybe familiars are really good in this phase. Like that's the secret.
Right. Exactly. Now, the people who are PMing people saying, I'll sell you the info on the bug that makes it easy to kill Solak, to me, that is so radically different
that's profiteering.
than just like letting your right, exactly. That's hugely different to me. Or there were people who were selling people comp leeches, and they would tell them on phase 3 how the Titan bug glitched. And so that's how they would sell the comp cape leeches. So like that's also very, very different.
Yeah, I would agree with you there.
But yeah, so other than a few bugs, really beautifully done. I will say that every single person who said that bossing would be exponentially more fun if accuracy was no longer a hindrance is absolutely correct. It is so fun and so satisfying to not just see a barrage of shields. Like when you have max gear on Maniacal with a Nihil, and you still splash all 4 hits of an asphyxiate, it's just really demotivating. And it was so nice to finally see a boss. And like, if the problem is time, fine, take the 25% that we lose to accuracy and just make every single boss have 25% more HP. Like, if that's what it takes, I'd much rather have the bosses have more health and not just be constantly splashing with Staff of Sliske.
Sounds legit.
So that was really, really nice. And it also means that Maniacal is not needed here. Runic is not needed here. If you came back, if you're playing for the first time, haven't built up points for those auras yet, no problem. You don't need them, which is really good. Like that's an accessibility issue removed.
Yeah, I heard the aura impacts are a lot less severe, which makes people a lot more willing to have others on their team that don't have auras. That's awesome. Glad to hear
exactly.
That they kept that in mind.
It only has 70 defense, so you're 100% guaranteed to hit a boss with tier 80 weapons or higher. You have 100% accuracy.
That's pretty good. I like that. I like that a lot. That way, you can then shift it to more of again like precision and time-based things and stuff like that.
Right, and it also makes auras like Inspiration and Vigor, Magic way more relevant because they're actually really, really good. In certain respects, like my favorite aura at this boss is Invigorate, and Inspiration is probably my second favorite. And would I use those auras at any other boss? No, but finally there's a use for them.
Now they've got their niche little use. That's awesome.
Yeah, which is how auras were always meant to be. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they were not meant to dominate the high-end PVM scene. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. It like AOD is if you don't have Maniacal, you either have to reset it or you get kicked from the team. That should not be how auras. I mean, that's part of why I think. And the thing is, like, you have to have Maniacal at Angel of Death, or your kills will be way slower. It's not even close. So it's not people being elitist in my mind. It's people being like, hey, we don't want to have kills that are 40 seconds slower because you won't spend the 50 Viswax to reset an aura.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, and that it sucks, but it's like, that's kind of how you have to deal with the situation. Here, it's so much nicer because you'll never have that problem.
Yeah, so again, that lowers the overall potential of toxicity. That's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, there'll always be people who are toxic, but
but you give them less reasons to be.
A lot better this way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Way fewer reasons is always good.
Exactly. Stop the leaks before the ship fills up, and you don't have to worry about lifeboats.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Anyway, you got anything else you want to talk about in the realms of Solak or recent PVM news, or has?
I don't think so. I will say that if you've never done high level PVM before, Solak is
Don't.
very hard, but because it doesn't require you to do a large amount of damage, it's very easy to take it super slowly and learn the mechanics and rotate your defensives, right? So it's the first boss where you could shield camp throughout it, including phase 4 using the method I explained earlier, where you could kind of shield camp, take your time, do things super slowly, make sure you're following all the steps. And there's no like mad rush to do as much damage as possible. It's really beautifully designed. I'd highly recommend trying it, even if you don't have a ton of experience, as long as you either do practice mode or just be willing to die, because you're not going to get a kill first attempt. You might not get to phase 2 first attempt, but I think it's super fun. The voice acting is really good. I'm sure it looks really beautiful on Ultra. I play on minimum, so I couldn't really speak to that too much. But yeah, I think it's probably the first 24 hours after Solak release was probably the most fun I've ever had playing this game, and maybe by a lot. And so I think that for people seeking a challenge but who don't want the pressure of having to do damage while learning mechanics at the same time, this is a boss where you can learn the mechanics first, then add damage later.
Cool. You're almost selling me. I'm like, I should see if I find someone who wants to just try to learn this with me.
It is hard. Like don't. I'm not trying to say it's not hard. It's very hard. But it's like it doesn't require you to do both a ton of DPS and frantically learn mechanics. You could just frantically learn mechanics and that's it.
I would almost say the same thing about Rax. Like, is a very similar boss where it doesn't kind of throw too much crap at you at once. Would you agree that Rax has a similar learning curve, or am I just totally off base there?
I would caution the comparison only because I don't want people to think that this is similar in difficulty to Araxor, because it's not. They're just totally different classes in terms of difficulty.
Okay.
But I get your point in the sense that you can focus just on the mechanics and not worry as much about other things. So the mechanics are more difficult to deal with, but it's very easy to focus exclusively on the mechanics. And so in that way, it's similar to Araxor and dissimilar to Virago, for example, where not doing enough damage is hugely punishing. In fact, it causes you to fail. At every single phase, you have to do as much damage as possible, or the mechanics become progressively harder and harder and harder. So I would say Virago is a lot easier than Solak, but much harder to learn, if that makes sense.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I'm right with you. That all made sense, and I'm on the same page, definitely. And I'm coming up in a point where I'm like, I'm running out of excuses to not try some of these bosses. So I'm like, trying to gauge which ones are good fits for me.
The fact that this came out with a duo mode really saved it. I think if this was 7-man only, it would have been a disaster. Like I cannot believe that they even considered not releasing duo mode. I think that this would have been a total flop if it was 7-man, because it was just like learning the mechanics with that much going on was so hard. Now 7-man is fairly easy now, but that's only because we were able to learn how to deal with stuff in duo when there's less going on.
Well, so is Virago still a king of teamwork bosses in your mind, or has Solak taken that spot? Or
Virago is only king because you can choose to do it with fewer people, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, 7-man Solak with 3 people would probably be incredibly difficult. Hard mode Virago is designed to be a 7-man fight. So if you do it with 3 or 4 people, of course it's going to be harder than 7-person Solak. But the only Solak is definitely the new king. Virago is only harder if you purposely put restrictions on yourself.
Yeah.
So if that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, any final points, or is that pretty much wrap us?
Just like Ramen did an awesome job. Like I don't know if the mods ever listened, but like Ramen like crushed this one, and he's getting crap for a few bugs. Most of them are not even his fault. I just think that this boss was just like a home run.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that. It's always nice to know. And you know what? Just straight up 2018 has been a home run as far as I'm concerned. Like,
Oh yeah, so
update
good.
after update has just
It's
been,
been so good.
yeah, they've all just been on point, and I'm glad to hear another one has been hit out of the park. And I honestly can't wait to see these elite dungeons. They look great. You know, another alternative method for, you know, dungeoneering training, and more. It's got some interesting PVM aspects to it as well. Like, really excited. Like, that actually seems like it's probably more on my level.
It looks pretty accessible. Like
Yeah.
from what they were showing, it looks super accessible, which is good.
So we'll definitely have to reconvene and talk about that once that hits the table. Well, I believe the first dungeon comes out on the 25th of the month.
Yeah,
So we'll have to reconvene
I'm
and talk about
I'm
that.
I'm super excited for that too. I mean, I totally agree with you. 2018 has just been success after success after success, and it seems like it just keeps getting better. And I'm so happy they delayed it for like 6 months or whatever to work things out, because they really did a great job. And the thing is, like, even if not everybody ends up being able to do Solak, the people the boss was designed for are thrilled. And at a certain point, that's one of the most important things. Is like, does the intended audience like it? And I
Yeah.
think that's a huge check mark.
Good. That's what I want to hear, and I'm glad to hear it. Yeah. So again, I appreciate you taking the time to literally. I just came on. It was like, well, like 7:30 at night, and I'm like, hey, David, you were just. I saw you
Yeah.
chatting in the RuneScape Weekly chat, and
Yeah,
I'm like, do I have the energy? I'm like, you know what? F it, we're doing this. Hey, do you have? Do you want to talk with Solak? And you're like, yeah.
Hopefully you pressed record though.
I know that was a little frightening. I went to press record and it stopped recording. I was like, oh, I've been recording for the past 4 hours. Okay. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's got a big red record button right now. So we should be fine. Hopefully.
Sweet.
Again, I thank you to everyone for tuning into this. And shows are still like on the days they're supposed to be on. It's just whether or not I have the ability to meet the actual days or not. It's been pretty crazy around here, so I apologize for that. We're gonna try again this Friday. I think there was maybe even a plan for a possible mutiny if I'm not around, so there might even be a show even if I'm not here. So we'll maybe have that. But anyway, I'm again planning to be back on Friday. Hope you enjoyed this little special edition. In the meantime, as always, happy scaping.